that some people don't like being recorded all the time. And so that stresses people. How can you manage that?
Maybe you can show them the good sides. For example, if the computer picks up on you writing on Facebook, maybe it can also pick up on you working very hard and give you like bonuses or something, so that you show the good sides more than the bad ones.
Yes. So when you are management and you're programming this software, how to manage things, the first thing they did was think, okay, let's just take all these hundreds or thousands of papers and just sort. But it's way beyond that now. Now it's actually watching where you're looking, watching what are the keywords you're interested in, and it's suggesting things to you, which helps you do your job faster. It networks you with people on the other side of the world if you want that, so you do the job better. But at the same time, a problem is you don't like the CEO knowing what you're doing all the time, because you feel that's just the negative side. And so, yes, you should also, when you're looking at it, almost exaggerate many things, because it's the computer and they're doing many, many things. So don't just focus on filtering resumes. Don't just focus on watching people and giving suggestions. Also focus on your extrinsic motivations. What makes you feel good? So you can have these bosses appear because of robots, because of the online bots, to give you, if you're a good worker, the robot appears to be the CEO or the director and says, hey, thank you. You've been working really hard for the last hour or something, or you've got so much files. I've heard from somebody else. Please take a break or do something else. Okay, that's one thing. Usually you don't think of that when you're programming it, but some people are. This newest technology is starting to do those things. What else? I'll just start summarizing it to you. The idea of many people are now just using laptops everywhere they go, or iPhones. They're working on their iPhones almost all the time. I usually use my smartphone, I don't know, 20 times more than I ever use a desktop now. And some people even have the bigger foldable ones that you can work on, so they don't need a computer. They're using it everywhere they go all the time, and companies are paying to buy that. And so when you're worried about safety and security, that idea that the company knows where you're going. Is there any reason a company would want to know where your cell phone is going? It's not all bad. Obviously, if it tracks somebody because of stalking, yeah, that's bad, but it's designed for good. So can you guys guess what is the good? Why would you want the GPS monitored in your cell phone for work? It could, if the employee allows the company to do that, because that's illegal in many countries. That's your privacy rights. Yes. Google is allowing some of that. And I heard that Microsoft is more aggressive in India for doing things like that than even Google. So Microsoft is not only suggesting that when you're working, you don't just work your 6 days a week, which might be normal. You only work 80%, and 20% is supposed to be for yourself to develop. Yes, but the idea of tracking your cell phone was designed for all of the delivery companies, the logistics companies, like the post office companies, the FedEx companies. You want to know where that delivery is. Now, you don't need to phone and ask them. It's already said. If you ask, it's answered by a robot. I was surprised during the conference that not only are we using the computers to filter, not only are we using, I'll just go through and read some of this stuff. Guillaume Lacar, are you there? Can you start reading the top of this page on the screen?
Of course. Artificial intelligence and machine learning help human capital management. Finding talents is critical for success, but it's challenging, and hiring the wrong person expensive. Estimate of cost to find and be a new employee, $250,000.
Let's stop there for a second.
Okay.
This is supposed to be good or bad? Do you guys trust this? How do you know if you can trust this or if this is just lies and exaggeration? You guys have to know, part of our class is what is reliable, what is not. Is this a reliable story? This is a summary of a real story. Do you believe that hiring costs $250,000 if you hire the wrong person?
I think it might depend on the job. I don't think it would cost $250,000 if I hired the wrong delivery guy, but or maybe if he loses the package. But in general, I would say Forbes is quite reliable, but it probably wouldn't be bad to check on other sources.
Can you quantify what is quite reliable? How do you know? The whole point, I won't take up too much of your time. The idea that it is Scopus. So it is reviewed by other international experts, and the international experts agree that Forbes and Fortune magazine and Harvard Business Review, they're all very, very reliable. They're not the most reliable in the world, but they are reliable, so you can trust them. Why? Because why are they so very valuable? Because they have so many readers that they have that power of popularity. So it is reliable. And yes, as Pia said, if somebody has $100,000 for a salary, as we found out, the starting salary of students getting out of university, getting their first job in Goldman Sachs and the investment bankers, that is $100,000 right there. So if you start paying somebody and it's the wrong person, you've wasted 1 year's salary, and then you have to pay again another recruiter to find another person that often takes sometimes 30% of their salary, plus all of the people around them get slowed down. So surprisingly, it can be more than $250,000. But let's look at how AI companies are helping. Can you read this? So Linda, just the main things are important, but Zai, I think this is pronounced Zai, is helping with. Okay, and Clear Fit. Okay, I don't need, if you can read everything, go ahead. But I was thinking that you just need to read the big and underlined. So here is one program that companies are using. And this program helps just manage the interviews, schedule the interviews. And Clear Fit is another program like Microsoft Office. And that helps by finding and ranking candidates. And then another software program called Filtered helps assess technical candidates through automatic generated coding challenges. And it's not just coding, as Pia was saying, you can test them with their psychology and their social skills. Certain executives, when I was working for top executive companies, I had not only my resume tested and lots of reference tested, not as extensive as people in the FBI. Some of my students are now FBI. They were checked, their resume was checked, and they were checked for 2 years. They actually were in their late 20s getting this FBI type job, and the company was checking their elementary school teachers to find out if they were cheating very much in elementary school. Were they reliable and trusted even at a young age? So anyway, that's kind of crazy. But the idea that you can get many tests to find out if people are good or not. What can you test? Obviously, if somebody says they can do programming, you can give them a programming challenge. If somebody says he can do marketing, give him a marketing challenge. If somebody says they can do graphics, the computer with no people around can just hear, this is the job requirement. And so anybody that applies, the computer automatically selects a programming quiz or test, the challenge for that person to do. And based off of the score of that computer quiz, then the company will start interviewing people. Next, Textio. Would you like to read this next part? Can you read this? Sure. Capabilities. Okay, let's take a break there. What does that mean? What does that mean? In the old days, the companies would usually just hire, especially in Korea, only once a year, maybe twice a year. And everything goes through that once or twice a year, except for very rare situations. North America, similar. They only hire to people that are applying. If they give a resume, they start looking. But now that we're using technology, it's starting to use computers to scout people. What does that mean? Do you understand? Right. And even more than that. So you were saying it will see people posting their resume online, maybe looking for jobs, but the computer technology will find that and start introducing them and testing them for potential employment. But even beyond that, it's seeing people that are happily employed without a resume online, and they start analyzing, this person is in a competitor company. They could probably do the company job well, and start computer robots are able to start interacting and see if they're interested in working for this, even if you don't have your resume online. However, of course, you should have your resume online. You should always have your resume online, and you should always try to upgrade it related to what we were saying with LinkedIn. The more you have it out there, the longer the computer software will see you have experience. The longer you exist, the more experience you have. So if we go to the next part, Harvard screens by generating engaging tests, similar to what we just said. It assesses the candidates based off of tasks they'll have to do on the job. Anzaro unifies all of the data about employees to build predictive models to find out, we need somebody that is more social related to baseball in our department, or they will test all of the MBTI personality details and your productivity on the job and start suggesting maybe you need somebody that is a better clown to help make your social environment in work better. Like small things like that, that normally you wouldn't think of, the computers are bringing this AI together. It's getting really interesting. So AI can definitely make recruiting smarter. Companies have increasing amounts and more diversity of data and can identify fits with people inside the company and outside, even if they're not applying. But the recruiting process, the biggest part is still the people. like a car doesn't make accidents, it's a car driver. And the technology now is better at finding workers and better at sometimes managing the workers than the actual people. So make sure you're aware of those things. The idea of the many companies and many people just have a standard resume. In Korea, you will see a lot of people talking about they went to elementary school here, they went to middle school here, they went to university here, and now they're applying for a job. Why? Is that important? In Canada, we would probably say no. I'm giving you a hint already. Is it important to know an elementary school? That idea of in East Asia, connections, relationships, Guangxi is so important. If you identify your main target customer is from that same elementary school or middle school, the person from the same school has a better chance of connecting with them than somebody from an unknown school. So most people would not notice that, and the technology can. So people are also biased. I'm not saying it, no, I'll just say it's bad. I have seen many times organizations, when they're looking for people, top management says, nope, we can't have her. I don't want somebody that's going to be working. We're going to pay them. We're going to train them. And they're going to take off when they get pregnant and they say really bad things. Some people are biased and at the showing their sometimes people can be very, very biased. Machines not only help to source this information, but they screen the applicants. Studies show humans are bad at picking the applicant, and meta-analysis illustrates that these formulas, these calculations outperform humans better in human capital management. And this whole idea of what we were talking about, this was a file that I was telling you guys to read in week 3. Anybody know what's this process? This is just, there is a file in week 3, one of the articles that I was saying, you guys should read it. And I opened it, I showed it briefly. Anybody want to get bonus points and talk about what this is saying? If you guys read what I was telling you to read, I'll give you bonus points. And
I think it was talking about the mainly about keyword. So whenever you write the application for the job, we need to try to use our keywords maybe in a different way. And we try to write it down many times as big as possible so that the ATS system can find out and notice that your application implies a lot of keywords which companies need it, so that this program will catch you, and then you will be outstanding. Your application will be more outstanding than other applications.
yes, thank you. Not just the keywords. Keywords are very, very important. That's the first most important thing, but that's been around for many years now. You must know what are the keywords related to you and the job you want. If you don't know what are the keywords related to jobs you want, you are hurting yourself by not promoting those and developing those. Because now almost everything is managed by computers, and the computers are just searching for those key words. So you need to use those, similar to some people are not just key music, and I wanted to be teaching around him where he has music around, but the idea of key skills. Do you know what are the key skills you need for your job? If not, start checking into it, because you have to. Both keywords are the core of what the programs look for, but then the key skills also. If you don't have those, if you're not talking about those a lot, if you're not writing about those a lot, not just in your resume, but as we said, the computer is checking when you're working for a different company and you're typing these details in. Some computer programs, the advanced ones, can see you're typing in those key skills. So you're obviously appropriate. So ATS, the automatic tracking system, it's getting really, really big, especially in India, the Middle East, and Europe. So how do you beat these? We already started talking about them.
I'm sorry for the interruption, Professor, but our group 5 have prepared our presentations
Okay.
related to the employees benefits topic.
Can you read
Like,
match keywords down to apply early? After you read that, then you can present your details.
okay, do you want me to read the context of the sentences?
Yes, please.
Okay. Match keyword. Use exact keywords from the job posting on your resume. And use keywords in context. Keywords are rated higher when they appear in the relevant paragraph with related text. Apply earlier. Companies that use applicants tracking systems, ATS, as paid service may discard late applicants if they have a limit on the number of applicants if they receive. Use free tools to see how well your resume matches with the keywords in your job description. Check out jobscan.com.
There's more information here you guys can check. You guys can go ahead and start sharing your details at any time. So Jongomon, you said that you wanted to share now, right?
Yes, can you see our screen?
Yes, we can. Employee safety and health. Can you start with the introduction of what this is? This is a weekly presentation topic.
Yes, we can do that. So good afternoon, everyone. And even for the people who might be watching this video in the future, we are in week 12, right? And our topic is about employee benefits. And our group 5 have prepared informal presentations related to this weekly topic. So I would like to start this presentation. When we think about the employee benefits, we can think about how to motivate employees by giving meal break or providing paid vacations, health insurance, employees allowance, and by raising their pay. There are lots of ways to motivate their work performance. But we will talk about it. But for my part, I was thinking maybe we only think about how to motivate and increase their performances. But what if the companies are under bad situations and they might have to cut the pace of the employees? What would happen? We will watch short videos and we can talk about it. Can you listen?
Can't hear yet. You still,
Is it muted?
yes. You might have to stop sharing your screen and then start sharing your screen again. But when you are about to click on show the monitor, at the bottom of your screen, it will show to use audio.
Oh, maybe. What about this one? Oh, no. Okay, I will click the sharing.
Technology and human capital. Nope. I think you need to either if it was in Facebook, show it. So press share your screen.
Can you hear now?
To work from home permanently? think twice if you work at Google. According to a company pay calculator seen by Reuters, Google's remote employees, especially those who once commuted from long distances, could experience pay cuts without changing their address. For example, an employee who works from home full-time in Stamford, Connecticut, an hour away from Google's office in New York City, would be paid 15% less if the employee worked at home. By contrast, a colleague from the same office living in New York City would see no pay cut even if the employee too worked from home. Screenshots of Google's internal salary calculator showed 5% and 10% differences in the Seattle, Boston, and San Francisco areas. A Google spokesman did not specifically address the issue in Stamford, but said employees who work from home in the same city where their office is based won't get their pay cut. Google said pay will differ from city to city, state to state. Similar experiments are happening across Silicon Valley. Facebook and Twitter have cut pay for remote employees who move to less expensive areas. By contrast,
So we have seen videos, and I would like to point out some students if we understood these videos. So maybe I believe that Celinda is in the classroom. So can you kind of summarize what the video is talking about?
They're very, no, not very good.
Celinda, can you hear? Did you? Oh yeah, you might need a microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
If I had understand the YouTube video, s- employees pay differently. It's like 50% less from. They pay 50% less some employees who work in Google, and it's depend in which city or state. So in some city there's no difference if we work from home, and in other city, yeah, they pay less, if I understand.
Yeah. So basically, what the video is talking about is Google have a plan to pay salary in a different way to the employees based on their living. So there was a COVID-19 situation before, but some workers might want to work remotely because their home is far away. But the Google have decided to decrease their payment for the employees who's working far away because they believe that they are working in their home instead of coming to office. They might save some money for transportations or other things, but for the people who's working in the actual office, they will get the same salaries. So with and actually this kind of situations is happening to the other multinational company as well. This is a big trend happening these days. And we would like to talk about this situations. Let's have a discussion. Working remotely and less salary versus working in office and same salary. You might need to think about like CEO and or a manager perspective, or is it right decision to give a less salary who's working remotely, or what about the workers' reaction? What would be a workers' reaction? Let's talk about it. Why don't we start with Guillaume? What do you think about it?
Oh, I think we had another free hand from our professor.
Go ahead, Pia. Okay, nobody else is joining. I think as long as the results are getting done, the pay should be the same. Actually, I would suggest, since people started working from home, not for their own personal preference, but because of a requirement, I think the company should be investing in them to have more work equipment and facilities at home. But as long as the work results are the same, the pay should be the same, in my opinion. However, what you guys are talking about, I did see those research studies came out about a year ago to 6 months ago. There's still some people talking about it, but the newest research that I've seen have said that so many people were complaining about the pay cuts. I don't think it was 50% pay cuts. It was more like 15 to sometimes 20% of your pay would be lowered. So many people complained about that the big companies started getting lawsuits. So they stopped reducing the pay for several companies. And now they're starting to switch to provide bonuses, provided that they can do the same work. For example, they will provide a printer to take home, or extra screens for work at home. That's my opinion. Any other comments? What other incentives would you guys think is important? From working from home. If a big company now, research shows that in many big companies, 55% of all workers don't want to come back to the company, even if the company doesn't have any more health issues. They want to stay working outside of the office. So what should companies do? What type of incentives should you consider? Should you lower incentives? Should you lower pay? Should you raise it? I think don't change the actual base pay, provide more incentives. What do you think?
I mean, for the incentives for the people who's coming in office.
I know, I was thinking that if somebody is in the office, nothing changes. The pay is the same. And if somebody's working from home, the pay should be the same, but they should be able to be entitled to get more type of benefits, more incentives. For example, you can, if you work from home, get a printer for your home, or you can get internet service paid at home by the company to do the company job at your house. Those type of extra bonuses. So extra should be given, in my opinion, if you're working outside of the office that already has all of that stuff developed.
Okay, what about the people who is working in office? Let's say a person who's working remotely, they're living in a very countryside, which you don't need to pay lots of money for housing. And there's a person who have to pay a lot of money because they want to work in office in New York, but they need to pay a lot of money. But if the person who's working remotely in the countryside, if they get incentives from the companies like printers or other incentives, they are saving a lot of money, and they're also getting the printers. Wouldn't be unfair to the people who's working in the New York, because they need to pay for the expensive houses, and they also need to come to the office, which can be kind of tiring. Wouldn't be fair.
I see a Pia is here. Pia, did you want to comment on that? I have lots of comments, but I am biased.
I think it might be more interesting to only support those in the countrysides because they have a long way to travel. So I think maybe it would be more clever to pay everyone equal. But since the people that are living in the city actually have very good chances to just go to the office, that you maybe not support them with printers because they live 15 minutes away from the printers, but just give the printers to those who live in remote areas. So there's nothing changing with the pay, but just with the equipment that they can use.
Okay, Shokabos, what do you think? Maybe Zephyr, what do you think?
If we talk about the fact that the company need to give all the material to all the workers, I think it can be difficult because if there is a lot of workers, the company gonna lost a lot of money.
Okay, any other comments?
Yeah, regarding that, I think, but they also can profit from better people who maybe aren't in the city, but they can hire people from not all over the world, and maybe all over the world, they can still support them with printer money and everything. So maybe they get better results by hiring these geniuses, and then that compromises the costs of, yeah, printers, etc.
Okay,
I believe that there are a few students who might want to talk about it more, but for the sake of time, we would like to continue our presentations. I will give microphones to the Andre.
Welcome to my slide, everybody. I wanted to dig a little bit more into motivation and how it is related to productivity. And it's also related to the rewards, because according to the Herzberg theory, we get two types of rewards, but talk about that in a minute. So what motivates people in the workplace? Motivated people are more productive, but the question is what motivates them, because everybody is different. It could be also regarding to culture, and people have some basic needs that have to be satisfied first. After that, they can focus on self-development. We have different kinds of motivation, but the basic distinction is intrinsic and extrinsic. Okay, just internal and external, let's put it like that. That is also the difference between stimulation and motivation, where stimulation is coming from outside and motivation is your will to act or behave in a certain way. We also have frustration, which could be understood as disappointment. It's usually caused by an obstacle at work. When you cannot change something, you have bad relationship with a colleague or absence of tools, for examples. And I wanted to mention motivation theories that I really like, and I think they make sense. So the first one is the Herzberg two-factor theory, where satisfied employees more productive. And we have two basic factors, which are hygiene factors and motivators. Simply put, the hygiene factors are basically the salary, benefits, 3 days, and the motivators would be appraisal, recognition, or when your boss gives you a specific task. And the interesting thing with this theory is that the hygiene factors, they don't make you satisfied, but if they are not met, you will be dissatisfied actually. But motivators, even without them, you can still keep doing the job at certain productivity. But if you have more motivators, you will be even more productive. So you can understand this basically as hygiene factors are something that is needed, expected, and motivators are something that can help you be even more productive or develop yourself in a certain way. Then there's also the room's expectancy theory, which involves 3 key points. That's balance, which is attractiveness of the goal, instrumentality. The employee needs to know that the reward is achievable for a certain task, and expectancy. The employee needs to believe that achieving the goal is real. And the last theory is the McLennan's theory, where people have 3 needs: to achieve something, to belong somewhere, and to have power over something. So basically the power over something is, as I said before, when your boss gives you a specific task, you feel like you have the responsibility and you matter. We also talk about that the employees work, the employee's goal should be related to the company's goal. So you feel needed in the company and you feel relevant. So actually, I would like, because Jongwoo did a kind of discussion, so I didn't expect that. So I would also like to ask you, what do you guys think is more motivating for you, the money or the appraisal? Because I feel like there is a culture difference. For example, I have over 10 friends who work in an IT company for 5 years now, and they are still getting the same salary. They have access to all the Udemy learning tools. The company is willing to pay their courses, learning courses, but they don't use anything. They work 5 years for the same salary. They didn't change. They didn't climb the company ladder. They are still just basic workers. So I'm curious about that because they are satisfied with the least they can do.
Go ahead. Good luck managing the class, getting responses.
Okay, I would like to ask, for example, Zephyr, like, what would you say is, after you graduate, would you look for money or would you look for experience, or would you look for a company that allows you to get the education that you want?
To be honest, I will say money, but the true thing is that to have a lot of money, I need a lot of experience. And so firstly, I will take the experience, and thanks to the experience, I will have the money, I think.
That sounds good. I think when we are students, it's good to get the experience, as Mr. Watts tells us all the time, to participate in certain things and reach out to people. During the students year, I think it's easier to get experience than money. And after you graduate, you have a nice portfolio to actually get a job that pays.
Good, thank you. Anything else that you guys wanted to talk about? We have, what, 5 minutes left or so of class, 10 minutes left of class?
Okay, so maybe I end the presentation. So we heard that employee benefits are very important. They can be intrinsic and extrinsic. And most people nowadays, I think, want to be more motivated. They are not really motivated by money, but they also want to be happy in their job. And one thing that's also very important is employee safety and health. So for example, insurance, but also health programs. A lot of companies actually give sports programs for example, factory workers to feel better. So these are all very important factors. And I wanted to talk about it from a manager perspective, why you should focus on employee safety and health. And first of all, if you are protecting your workers, you can reduce their absent time, which of course then brings more efficiency and productivity. And they also say when employees care for their health, workers are more productive in workplaces, according to the Institution of Occupational Safety and Health. And also reducing downtime, of course, saves money and time. So it is very important that you are committed to corporate responsibility, including your own employees, because it can also attract business partners and investors, and of course, new employees or new applicants, especially the younger generation that really cares for those factors. So a good health and safety record could also be good for your brand value, which could give you a competitive advantage. And it's good for long-term benefits and work climate, as well as the community. So we think it's very important to focus on these as well. And with that, we're basically done with our presentation. We hope you could profit a little bit from the discussions and the new perspectives on safety and health. And then I give the word back to Professor Watts.
Back to me. Okay, thanks. Any comments from the group? Going once, going
Not
twice.
from us, but maybe did you understand what was new to you? Maybe someone in the classroom. I don't know who's there. Maybe Tobias or Celinda. I don't know.
Okay.
Can't see them.
Would you like to share something?
Maybe one thing that Professor Watts also mentioned is that the things you've been talking about are mainly for long-term employment, and things like insurance and stuff is like getting even more important when you only work there for 6 months or on a project or anything, because like for that you won't really get any any long-term benefits normally, and that might be a problem, and I would be interested in how you would solve that. And I also think that the point of money can be quite interesting for that, because when you have a short-term gig, then more money could help you to do that stuff on your own, or to pay for your own health insurance that you probably have, because you're not employed all the time. And I think also money might be a very good intrinsic motivation when you know what it's for, like when the company really says, okay, and we don't offer you like those benefits, but we offer you like more money for that, so that we don't have to pay you these benefits because you're only employed for a short time or anything. And also money is kind of a symbol of how much you're worth to the company. So for example, if you're at a company that offers you to educate yourself or anything, but that really pays you a low salary compared to others, then I would say, okay, they are nice and everything, but why don't they like me? So why aren't they really recognizing my worth? So that are my points or my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I actually agree with you on that. I think especially a lot of us are like focusing on money at first, but maybe if you're working for a company for a longer time, not short term, I think a lot of people are trying to do something that they like in the long run. So you're right, especially health programs and everything. It's more focused on people who actually work for the company for a long time. So I think extrinsic factors are probably better to gain short-term gig personal in that aspect.
I think what you're talking about is amazing. It's an amazing point to wrap up the class. We are focused on HR. We're focused on last week talking about not only the basic wages, basic cash pay you pay each month, but also the benefits and incentives. But so far, most of what we're talking about is old information that may not apply as much each year we go forward. The idea for the last 2 years, most people have been working online without the company. Now, a fact is companies know you can do most work without having to come and visit me. I don't need to see you. You can do it on the other side of the world. Everybody seems to start to notice that, but they haven't noticed that next step. What is the next step? I don't need you from the expensive San Francisco or New York. I can get somebody from Johannesburg or Santiago, Chile to do it at a fraction of the cost. And if they're going to be doing it, I don't need to pay the health insurance. So that idea, I think, is increasingly important. Most people have not started to think about it, but you should. The second thing that I wanted to make sure people are aware of, again, it's you in HR are not as important as the voice of the management or the voice of the workers. So you must respect the voice of the other people. But so far, I think some of you were saying that you're assuming people are working in the same country, in the same city, in the same environment. Everybody needs this big expensive house. But that next step is, if companies are going to start working online, employment is going to change all around the world. And soon as that starts happening more and more, you must stop saying, I think this is best, because I is not important anymore. You must start to develop an HR system with your technology, perhaps, to automatically identify the company's management has this value and culture. But the worker coming from some other distant country has a different culture and value and motivator. Regardless of if you think money is king, that's not important. It matters the person you're hiring. What does that person want? Maybe those people need the cash. Maybe those people don't need the cash. Maybe they just want to stay busy. For example, in Korea and Japan, there's so many old people that don't have jobs now. They want anything just to stay busy. Maybe they will start volunteering to do projects just to stay busy, maybe for minimum pay. So that idea of, I think this needs to change. It's never been good. It has to start analyzing that other person you're dealing with, the other person you're talking to, whoever you're managing. What does that person care about? So Andre, I saw you had a hand up. Or was that just a wave goodbye since it's the end of class time? Any last comments from anybody? I didn't hear anything from several of you today. Please make sure you guys are posting things online. I'll give you an extra, Paul will give you an extra 1 bonus point if somebody can see. What was the top post in our class Facebook group right now? It's helpful for you. Before anybody leaves, please check it. I'll give you guys 5 seconds to check. What's that post? Because you guys asked for it and it's right there tomorrow. What is that? Post all of your work in the class Facebook page. And so check that file because there's a lot of benefit there. Several weeks ago, you were telling me that you know LinkedIn is valuable, but it's a pain in the ass to work with. You don't really know how to do it, right? I talked to the directors, the executives of LinkedIn in Korea. There is a presentation for you guys tomorrow. They will train you guys tomorrow how to use LinkedIn to develop as students. So it's a presentation basically just for you guys online. Any of you guys seen that? Somebody want to read out those details? Let's go back to this one. So LinkedIn is hosting a webinar for university students in Korea tomorrow at 2 p.m. This is a webinar to help students with career development, how to use LinkedIn to get your jobs. The LinkedIn Korea team will share the following during the webinar: how to leverage LinkedIn profile to expand your business network and increase your chance of getting hired, how global companies are hiring, interacting with talent on LinkedIn, how to equip yourself with the skills that potential employees are looking for, and then register here. Make sure everybody realizes this. Maybe you want to take a picture of this or just check in Facebook. It's the top post there. So thank you very much. Class is finished. Please not only be aware of this, you don't have to go for class, but it's made for you guys. But share your files here because I think we only have, 2 weeks left. And you guys have lots to you can present more information like this weekly topic, but you should not only share your main research, but share it and get feedback from other students before you present your final project. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
I think, is this it?